Evening, everyone. I have a question for you. Are you aware that the world around us is being destroyed as I speak? Well, now you are. See, there's this thing called environmental degradation that is taking place on a global scale at unprecedented levels that is basically ruining the very world we all call home, which is, obviously Earth. According to my audience survey analysis results, pretty much all of you, at least to some degree, care about the environment and the issues affecting it, so that's good. So I know you're all hopefully going to be able to learn something new and be interested in it at the same time. What I'm going to tell you guys about today is the problems at hand, what's really going on, what's happening from environmental degradation, why these issues are happening in the first place, their causes, and how we as a society can fix these problems. First, I'm going to tell you what the problems are. We're going to start off with the scope of these problems because it's pretty crazy. Between the year 1900 and the year 2008, annual greenhouse gas emissions increased 16-fold. Okay, that was only 5, but if I had 16 fingers, that would have been more than 16-fold. All right. Now, in more recent years, between 1990 and 2008, emissions have still increased by a whopping 1.5 times. That means in 2008, it was 1.5 times as much emissions as there were in 1990, and that is a lot of growth. It's only going to get worse from here. And that information was retrieved from the EPA's website, epa.gov. Now, apart from emissions, there's also some pretty crazy statistics about sea levels. So, it is projected that by the year 2100, sea levels will have risen by 3 feet. That means everywhere in the world right now where there is sea. 86 years from now, there's going to be 3 more feet of water on top of all those places from the melting of the ice caps. I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, that information was retrieved from an article written by a guy named Coral Davenport called Rising Seas, which was published March 27th, 2014 on the New York Times website, newyorktimes.com. And there's another issue. It is deforestation. That has a pretty crazy scope as well. 80% of the species, 80% of the species ever, all the ones we know about, plants and animals, 80% of those live in rainforests. Perhaps not exclusively, but 80% of like everything that lives in rainforests. And because these rainforests are being, cut down and stuff, there's been lots of reckless endangerment of these species' lives, which is leading to decreased levels of global biodiversity. That's a whole other topic, but that's a bad thing too. Just gonna let you know that. Now, why are these things happening? I got into that a little bit already, but now I'm gonna go ahead and elaborate a lot for you on why this stuff is happening. Alright, so first of all, ozone layer. The ozone layer is getting destroyed by the release of fossil fuels. This is because when fossil fuels are burned, they release greenhouse gases into the air. The most notable of these is CO2. There is a few other ones, but CO2 is the big one. And these things, all these greenhouse gases, they do not get along with ozone, which is a naturally occurring element that resides in the Earth's atmosphere, and it blocks out UV radiation from the sun. But CO2 comes in and messes up ozone, and after it's done, there's less ozone. And that's pretty bad, because that leads to the melting of the ice caps, which leads to the rising of the sea levels. And to tell you how serious this ozone depletion is, there's this little place in Antarctica, on the coast of Antarctica specifically. It's a research station called Halley Bay. And for the last 60 years or so, scientists have been measuring the levels of ozone in the atmosphere above Halley Bay, right? Now, between 1956 and 2003, the amount of ozone detected above Halley Bay decreased by 49%. That means that all the ozone that was above Halley Bay in 1956, only half of it was left, and that was in 2003. So it's only gotten worse now. That information was retrieved also from the EPA's website, epa.gov. Now, the cause of deforestation is there's a lot of logging companies that live near rainforests, right? And they want to make these products, such as palm oil and soy, and they want to do some cattle farming too, because they make a lot of money from this. That's all according to the World Wildlife Fund's website, which is worldwildlife.org. Now, what these companies are doing is they're cutting down the trees so that they can do all the things I mentioned before, like, plant palm oil and stuff, and they can sell it. And a lot of this is not even done legally over in the rainforest. A lot of this logging is done illegally. It's just a case of greed and people wanting money and not caring about the environment at all. And they're just destroying these rainforests so they can sell palm oil. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think palm oil is worth the destruction of the world's rainforests. Do you? Hopefully not. Alright, those are the problems and the problem causes. Now, here comes the good part, the happy, the good news. Here are the solutions to all of these problems. Okay, so first off, the solution to, rising sea levels and emissions of greenhouse gases is to use clean energy such as wind, solar, and hydropower. What that means is instead of burning oil or coal found inside the earth, we're just going to absorb sunlight from the sun, or absorb power from the wind using windmills, or absorb power from rushing rivers using dams. All of this is going to still give us electricity, but it's going to do it without producing any emissions, and that's going to be clean for the environment, and it's going to be nice for us because we're going to get all the electricity we need. Now, this is a bit difficult today because these technologies are a bit more expensive than the burning of fossil fuels, but there is a bright, shining beacon of hope over in Europe. See, according to an article with a very long name called Solar Energy Now the Same Price as Conventional Power in Germany, Italy, Spain report, published on RT.com by an unknown author on March 25th. Germany is doing some pretty crazy and awesome stuff with solar energy. It's now the same price to receive solar energy in Germany as it is to receive conventional energy from sources like coal and oil, right? And what's really great is that in 2008, it was reported that 50% of Germany's electricity that they needed that year came from solar energy. So they have the way forward. We need to start doing stuff like that over here in the United States so we can stop melting the ice caps so the polar bears have somewhere to live. We don't want Coca-Cola to lose their only mascot, okay? Everyone likes polar bears. Now, as for how we can mend the problems of deforestation, one thing that we can do is try to not support products that contain things like soy or palm oil. I mean, I guess you can still get them, but try to limit this, because the more you buy them, the more the evil companies over there are going to say, oh, those Americans are buying up our palm oil, let's cut down some more trees. So when we don't buy it, they're going to say, let's find something else to do. Those Americans don't want palm oil anymore, so let's leave these trees alone. And something else we can do, that is just to prevent future damage. As for how we can mend the damage that has already been done, we can plant trees, find some appropriate areas where nothing's really being done, no one's doing anything on some areas, just plots of random land. Maybe you could organize a community tree planting, or even just do it by yourself or with your friends. Get some seeds for trees, go around, plant them, water them in these fields, and voila. It's not going to do anything immediately, but in the future, more trees are going to be there. They're going to filter out the nasty CO2 in the air so it stops beating up the ozone to get more ozone. And at the same time, we're going to get more trees, right? So that's going to mend both problems at the same time. So, hopefully you guys all learned something new. We talked about environmental degradation, what it is, what the problems are, and how we can all fix it. Now, it's very important that we actually put these practices into place, because right now, living as we are today, it's not that big of a deal, all this environmental stuff going on. It is still a deal, but not quite as massive as it's going to be in the future. But in the future, this is not sustainable. Things are going to get really, really bad, and our descendants and even ourselves are going to have to face the consequences of environmental degradation in the future if we don't do something about it.